Okay, so the topic, excuse me, my voice, damn. I wanted to talk about, we touched on this before. I had watched a video that Oprah did, and she was talking about how everybody is common, every human is common in that we all want to be validated. We all
Right.
want to be seen, we all want to be heard. It sounds like a very simple concept, but I was thinking about it in the last couple of days. I encountered a couple of people, and it came up, it popped up into my mind. And I was thinking, I was like, there's so much truth in that that's all we really want. And when we don't, when we aren't validated, it follows us. If you're not validated as a child, you constantly seek that. I know, like in psychology, they talk about being like orally fixated,
Right.
being anally fixated, things like that. And it's just kind of a jump off of that where you always seek that which you don't have. Like we were talking about parents. If you never really got acknowledged by your parents, then you go through life seeking acknowledgement from other people.
Right.
And the thing is that most times, or anybody who is generally aware, you can tell if you listen and if you watch and if you observe what people want from you or what people are seeking. But for some reason, we don't want to give that. Like, it's a weird thing. It's almost like you can tell, like, it's like when somebody's begging for a compliment.
I see what you're saying.
People don't want to give a compliment. It's like, why is she so thirsty for a compliment? Why is she trying to be down so hard? So people tend to
deny them of that which they are really seeking.
And I've done it before. And I look back and I'm trying to like look at myself like, why did I do that? What was I accomplishing by not giving that person what they needed? But it backfires on you, because by not giving them, that person, what they need, they keep seeking it. And then if I'm annoyed that they're asking for it the first time, then I'm going to keep getting annoyed because they're just
going to keep doing it until they get it.
Exactly. And I'm not talking about children, where you're trying to teach them a lesson, like, just adults. And not that you can always give people what they need. Some people will never be some people are so empty that, they need constant validation, and you can't do that for them. Or maybe they don't deserve the validation that they're seeking. But in a simplistic form, you start to think, like, why is it so hard to give that to people?
Well, if it's not going to cost me, I try to rationalize. If it's not going to cost me anything, then I'll give it.
Yeah.
But like I said, if it drains me, then I'll probably reserve some of that for not, like you said, someone that needs it more than others. But if it's something as a simple acknowledgement, and I see them begging for it, but I know it's not going to cost me anything. They're going to go about their business and go skipping along the street once I give it to them. Then I sometimes go, okay, let me do it.
Pacify you.
Yeah. Because it's not really taking anything away from me.
See, that's the
thing. I'm not doing it because I'm being a bitch.
And that's the thing. I think people feel like it takes something away from them in order to, like, even like some people are so stingy with compliments. Like, I've been around people who will not give a compliment for nothing. Or they'll find a
backhanded, like,
yeah.
You got these new shoes, or whatever it is that they want to say.
Exactly. They'll acknowledge it, but they won't say your shoes are nice. About, somebody went shopping. Right. So you acknowledge that you see something, but you won't say that they're nice.
Right.
Or, you see somebody be like, oh, somebody's all spruced up today. You won't say the person looks pretty, but you're acknowledging that something's different, or that they made some kind of an effort. And then, again, it goes back to that point. What is it taking away from you to say that to that person? But so many people don't want to do it. Right. And I'm trying to figure out, like, what is that all about? Is it jealousy? I just can't wrap my mind around it.
I think it's probably a little bit about a certain control that you think you have at that particular time with that person.
That's a good
point.
By
not giving them what they want, and that makes you feel powerful. It's just the same thing as when we gossip about certain things, how it makes you feel good, or it like energizes you because it's like, oh shit, especially if it's someone that you didn't expect it from, or like seems to be perfect, or profess to be X, Y, and Z. When you get some dirt, you're like, oh shit, word. Like, you know what I mean? You perk up.
You can knock her down. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that control that we all. They always say, psychology wise too, when you do little things like that, it's the control that you're not getting somewhere else in your life that you're exercising.
Yes.
At that moment.
Well, that's funny. I was having that discussion with somebody today. We were talking about that, like, being when you're so a lot of people don't have control in a lot of areas of their life. So once they get an opportunity, and you'll see that with a lot of bosses, and that's why there's a lot of bosses who are they they eat the power. The power is like, it's intoxicating to them.
Right.
They love the fact that they can tell people what to do, deny people of things. They toss their power around because either they're a henpecked husband at home, their wife does, runs the show, so they come to work and they try to man up, or maybe they're dealing with some insecurities, and this is the only way that they can execute any kind of power. And then as their employee, you have to suffer the consequences.
Right.
So yeah, I think it is sometimes it's just an insecurity, or there's something lacking somewhere else, and they're trying their best to find it. And like I was thinking back, like I had long story short, I had a boss, and I kind of went into it with some baggage because she was a black woman, and I had a black woman boss previously, and we didn't get along. And I felt like it was like one of those black on black crimes kind of situation. Like, she hating on me because, we both black and whatever. And, that could have been some of it. And some of it's just because she's an asshole. But the next boss I had, who was a black woman, I went into it already up with my guard up because of my experience with the last one. So I came into it with baggage. And then she was very, like, I didn't like the way that she handled me. She was very nosy, very always in my face, always asking me questions. And I took it as like, you're asking me questions all the time. Like, you don't trust me, or you don't have faith in what I can do. So you're like, you're babysitting me. And because of that, I pushed her back. I didn't give her what I need. Like I withheld information from her. I was standoffish with her. But all she wanted was for me to let her in. And because I wouldn't let her in, she rode me even more. Right. So I would have gotten what I wanted to be left alone if I had just given in the beginning.
Right.
But I didn't want to do it because, it's youth being stubborn, and she's not going to tell me and blah, blah, blah. And then in the back of my mind thinking that she doesn't like me. She's trying to sabotage me. She don't really want me here. So it was all this stuff at play. But when I look back at the situation, like, all I had to do was to give her what she wanted. And in turn, she would have given me what I wanted.
Right.
Which was like some space.
And some people know how to play that game really well.
A lot of people do. And I look back now, like, I was a dummy. I played that completely wrong. And for a year, we had this tumultuous relationship. And I blame myself for that because I walked into that. I fucked that up. She reacted. She didn't do everything right, but she reacted to me. Right. And then she'd do some shit, and then I get mad, and I do some shit. And it just kept going back and forth. And as I look at it now, the woman I am, I know I eat that. I was responsible for that. And we talk about closure. I don't need closure, but I know that if I ever saw her, I would apologize now because that was me. It wasn't her. But it taught me a lot about moving forward, how to deal with people. And sometimes it may come off as you're being manipulative if you you're playing people. Like, let me figure out what this person's angle is so that I know how to get them on my side.
Right.
But is it really manipulative, or are you to just figure out somebody's angle, or is it just you is it playing a game? Is it being manipulative, or is it just validating people?
It's just it's a survival too. It's better. I commend people who are very good at that.
Yeah.
There are times when people I'll look and be like, I don't even know how you deal with her.
Yeah.
But they know where, they come from a different perspective and they can put their ego down on the side and kind of placate that person. I think it works out better for those people that operate from those standpoint as opposed to that whole button heads thing.
Yeah.
No one's willing to give in.
Yeah.
And if you're not the boss, then you're surely always going to lose.
That's true.
You know what I mean? In that situation.
Yeah.
You're always but surely going to lose somewhere or another. Whether the person lets you go or you go, I can't, and you take yourself out of the situation. You're losing something because, if you want to be there and you're just letting that one person kind of stop that, then you've lost. Yeah. I'm trying to be better at that as I'm getting older as well, which is probably why you see a lot of older people kind of brush a lot of things off of you, like as a young kid, as a young person in the field, you're like, what the,
I would never let that.
Guns blazing, like, oh hell no.
That couldn't be me. I wish somebody would.
Yeah, they've realized that because we all come from a place when we're young that we know everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's just something that you just grow out of, hopefully, when you get older.
But sometimes you got to remind yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I started this new job and I'm kind of, like I said, I'm in observation mode. I'm kind of just, before I start making judgments, and I'm kind of watching people and figuring out, like, what's the culture here?
Right.
so I can figure out who I need to deal with and how I need to deal with them, and I noticed there's a couple of men there who are small statured men, but have very big personalities and very outspoken and command respect, and they eat their authority up.
Right.
And I think, this is just my, me looking from the outside in, feeling like they had lacked some validation somewhere along the line.
Right.
Because men, for some reason, men's validation is tied to their physical being a lot of ways.
Yeah.
To their size, their strength, their athleticism, things like that. So being a small man, before you can become great at sports, or before you can build up and get this body, you're the small guy, you're the short guy.
Right.
So, I can see why they try to overcompensate. Like, they call it a Napoleon complex or whatever, but they try to overcompensate for maybe their lack of stature.
Right.
And I watch it and I'm just kind of like, how do you deal with people like this? You know what I'm saying? Without being condescending, but kind of giving them what they need. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not the type of person going to be like, oh man, look at your arms. Your arms are swole. You so, you're diesel. Right. How do you do that?
Because that's not going to even come out of your mouth with any sincerity.
Oh, no, not at all. Right. But at the same time, it's like, I want to say, like Oprah, I want to be, I guess my goal moving forward is to see everybody and to hear everybody.
Yeah, because you have to find something about someone that you can genuinely say that you like about them.
Yeah. Acknowledge them. Yeah.
It may may not come to you right away.
Yeah.
But at some point you see something about them that you can say and not feel like an idiot. Like, oh, that sounded so phony.
Yeah. But in order to do that, you got to get to know people.
Right.
And I think that takes time.
I'm big at closing people off.
Yeah.
From the very beginning.
Yeah.
And it takes a while for me to come back around to them.
Yeah.
So I do notice that about myself. I kind of like, oh, I can't. Like, I'm out.
Yeah. Me too. Like, I'll hear them say some dumb shit, and I'm like, I can't be around it. I can't.
Yeah. And validation is very important for people to have.
Mm-hmm.
On no matter how horrible a person they are or how whatever it is personality they come with, they like
need it.
Oprah said, people always say, did I do good? Was that okay?
Yeah.
It's just something that we're just innately wanting to be a part of the pack. I guess it's just the way we're human beings are built. We're built to kind of...
acceptance means a lot.
Yeah, because we can't really survive without each other.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. So it's just a part of our makeup that we fill ourselves up with those things to make us go on as human beings.
Yeah.
It's like a hug. Like, it's short of a hug.
It's
not a hug that you can... It's a hug in a different way from a total stranger that you can get that we kind of always want.
And it holds a lot of weight. And I think people who are good at it, whether it's because they perfected the art or because they genuinely do care and are interested in people, they're the ones who are successful. Because like they say, you may forget names and you may forget places, but you'll never forget how a person made you feel. Right. And that's huge because, like, I may not remember you. I don't know maybe where I met you. I may not know your name, what you do for a living, but I'll remember our interaction and I'll remember that you made me feel important. You made me feel like I counted. You made me feel heard, seen, or whatever it is. You know, like I was telling you about the girl that I met, the new girl, and I'm trying to talk to her. You know, trying to just get to know who she is. And she kind of was answering me one-word answers. And, she just gave me an impression like she was closed off. Like, she hit me. Maybe she was done with me. Like, I can't, And she didn't want to open up. And I stopped. I said, you know what? She clearly doesn't want to get to know me. And that's okay. But I know that I made an effort. You know what I'm saying? But I know that when you're working in an environment, especially when you don't have a lot of people, it is important that you have... I want to get to a point where I have a relationship with everybody I work with. Not to say that we're best friends, but I know a little bit about you. I know kind of where you're coming from, how to deal with you, so that if it's me and you, just the two of us are sitting in a room, there is not dead air and I don't have nothing to say to you.
Yeah. But I think, like, with that girl, I think some people's communication style is a little bit different. Yeah. It takes a long time to warm up, or they're just not even aware that they're short in the way they respond to people. Because if you probably take a step back, you and her will probably connect on something way down the line. And you thought, oh shit, and when I first heard, thought you was a bitch, or whatever the case may be. And People are it's very interesting to see how some people communicate. Some people take a long time, but I know how that makes you feel. Like especially because I'm not usually an outgoing person. That I'm going to introduce myself to you and take an interest in you. If I'm making an effort to do it and I get shut down or I get some sort of roadblock, it automatically says to me, "Oh hell no!"
Like this doesn't work. Or like let me stop. Yeah.
But it's just sometimes some people are just you gotta sometimes take a step back and kind of ease your way into...
Yeah, it could have been anything. Could have been a bad day. Could have been something on her mind. I mean, I'm not cutting her off like I just...
Is she black?
I think she's Hispanic. I don't want to... It's not like she's dead to me, you know what I'm saying? But
no,
it's just...
I know.
It's just that, for that day I was done. And I feel like from this point...
you can be,
From this point forward, it's going to have to be organic. Like, I'm not going to ask you questions. Like, we're in the same room and we start talking, then it'll work that way. But it's just, this whole thing, it's just such a simple thing. This is what I love about Oprah, because she makes things so simple. We make things so hard, but really it just comes down to everybody just wants to be acknowledged. And I'm trying to, take that into every aspect of my life. Like, sometimes I get a text message from somebody who I really don't talk to that often. And, it's so easy to, especially on text, to kind of, say be dismissive, but to just kind of, move and shake and not really get into a conversation, whatever. But, you just be surprised at how much it matters just to have, you ask somebody how they're doing, because you might be the only person who asked them.
Right.
And I know it sounds Pollyanna-ish and, but it's really, because I think it's a selfish thing too, because in turn, even if it doesn't affect me positively, because with your boss and the people you work with, it makes sense to get on their good side. But even with strangers, it's it's one of those pass it forward kind of things. I acknowledge you. You feel heard. You feel seen. Your next encounter, you're going to walk into a little bit better.
Yeah, because you're going to be like, you know what? I was feeling down. That person made me good eye contact. They smiled really brightly. I'm going to do it for someone else because I know how it made me feel.
Yeah. It puts them in a better mood. It puts them in a better spirit. And that may affect, their next move, their day, their whatever, their next decision. And it's so simple if we would just do that to each other without...
It's simple, but it's... it takes us to slow down and be conscious of it.
That's true.
Because sometimes when I check people in, sometimes I'm on to the next person, and I have to remind myself to give them enough eye contact and smile at them long enough to kind of see them. Yeah. Because, you can say hi to somebody and not really see them.
Oh, that happens to me all the time. Sometimes I don't care, because sometimes I don't want to be seen. But
right. But there are times when you do make an effort to say hi, and then someone kind of doesn't say anything or says something really low energy, you feel like, oh, okay. Yeah. You feel stupid. Or you feel a little awkward because you gave it your energy and they didn't match the energy that you came to it. Yeah. So I try to remember that, because I know how it makes me feel when I give a certain energy and someone else is kind of like, Yes. And I'm like,
That's very frustrating.
I don't know you. Why should it make me feel bad? But it does, because
it's as simple as I held the door open for you. You didn't say thank you.
Yeah.
I did something I didn't have to do, and you just don't even acknowledge me. And then the problem with that is the pay it forward works both ways. We're quick to pay it forward negative, because if you have a bad day, somebody pisses you off, the next person you see is going to feel it.
Right.
So we'll do it quickly. Somebody cuts you off, I'm going to cut the next person off. But when it comes positive, we just accept it. We take it for what it is. Like, oh, that was good, and keep it moving.
Keep it. Energy doesn't stand still. It keeps going.
It transfers, exactly. And I'm trying to realize that, even in relationships, I noticed even with, the men I dealt with, I wasn't always very complimentary, because I felt like if I'm being complimentary to you, I'm feeding your ego. Right. And, that's not cool. Why shouldn't I compliment somebody I'm in a relationship? Obviously, I do like them. I'm impressed with them on some level. Why is it so hard to tell them that? Right. It was hard for me. It was hard to get the words out. I can't say it.
You're nice.
Yeah. It's like I'm being a sucker or something like that. But it's but now I had to stop and think, how would I feel to be in a relationship with a man who never complimented me?
Right. Even though he may think, well, she knows she's pretty already.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love you. You know this. I think you look good. You know what I'm saying? But you need to hear that. And you think that women need to hear it because, we're women, but men need it too.
Yeah, they do.
They really do.
They want to feel loved. They want to feel desired.
Yeah.
Because I notice when other, even managers that, I'm not attracted to, when a woman comes in that thinks they're attractive to them, it's like their disposition. I'm like, oh my God, like they're like girls, like, hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And watch that, you're like, wow, like there's this one guy, our general manager, that he's very like, he's a boxer on his half times, he's very gruff, and he's from Chicago, and but when you see him get complimented something like that, or someone surprise him, he's like a little melting girl, and I'm like, oh my God, because it matters as well to them. And what's very interesting too, if they see you do it to every man, it loses effect on them as well.
Definitely.
Like just like it does with us. Like,
yes.
oh, yeah, I'm beautiful. Yeah, you just told what's your name that she looks beautiful. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So they also like the exclusivity in terms of you like me and you only like me.
Yeah.
And for a very long time, I didn't think men cared as much.
Oh, they do. They do. And not just the insecure ones. Because you would think it's maybe the insecure guys who just need a lot of, but they need it just as much as we do. And it took a while for me to, like, kind of pick up on that. I'm going to stop right here and we're just going to go into part 6, all right?
Okay.